only temporarily disabling the tower. You need to remove each lens individually. Carefully release the hinges.
Warning. Energy contamination detected.
id Software did something incredible with 2016's Doom Reboot. It was a game that succeeded on many fronts, and while its heart-pounding action and best-in-class shooting are without a doubt its crowning achievements, the game saw unexpected success in areas that were more related to storytelling. The Doomslayer is perfectly emblematic of that success. In spite of being a silent protagonist, id Software were able to establish him as an absolute badass, a force to be reckoned with. But though the Slayer was clearly the star of the show, there was one more character in the game that deserves a lot of praise: Samuel Hayden, the chairman of the Union Aerospace Corporation, or UAC. While it would have been extremely easy for id to portray him as your typical one-dimensional corporate head honcho who turns out to be the bad guy in the story, they instead developed him as a complex and interesting character. He will soon be making a return in Doom Eternal, though we don't yet know just what capacity that will be in. And as we look forward to that, here we'll be taking a look at his entire story up until this point. Though Samuel Hayden was born with a silver spoon, being part of the powerful Hayden family and all, he proved time and time again throughout his life that he was an extremely capable man. After completing his studies, Hayden quickly gained prominence as a leading intellectual and philanthropist. That prominence led to him becoming the general director of the Global Science Council, but even that, as it turned out, was just a stepping stone for him, because it was this position that would attract the attention of the UAC, who would go on to offer him a leadership position in their organization. It didn't take long for Hayden to become involved with the UAC's biggest project, once they discovered the Argent Fracture on Mars and discovered that the energy from it could be harnessed as an endless renewable resource. Hayden put big plans into motion. Seeing the immense value in this renewable energy source and what it could do for humanity, Hayden greenlit the construction of the Argent Tower, which was designed to harness Argent energy from the fracture and beam it to the Global Energy Distribution Matrix, or GEDM, on Earth. During the construction of the tower, however, Hayden was diagnosed with terminal stage 4 brain cancer. Not one to take anything lying down, he dedicated all his energies to finding a way to cheat death, and managed to do just that. He did so by transferring parts of his brain into a mechanical body, which effectively allowed him to live forever. By the time Doom 2016 begins, in fact, Hayden is well over 130 years old. However, this led to him being demoted from his position as chairman to director of the Mars base. In spite of that, especially following the successful establishment of the Argent Tower and the GEDM, it was clear to most that Hayden was the leading authority figure in the UAC in all but name. There's some more important stuff to speak of before we get to Doom proper's events though. Most important of these is Olivia Pierce. Once a prodigy of Hayden, Pierce wound up working for him at the UAC and was eventually corrupted by forces of hell, and this corruption would lead to her making a deal with the devil, almost literally. Coming into contact with an unknown demon from hell, Pierce agreed to provide cybernetic enhancements to hell's forces and to keep the location of the slumbering Doomslayer, who was locked away in hell, a complete secret, all in exchange for relief from the torment of the physical and mental toll her work on Argent energy had taken on her. That second promise in particular was one she wasn't able to keep. In 2145, Hayden led the first manned expedition into hell, and there he found the Doomslayer, still locked away and still in deep sleep. Hayden successfully brought him back and kept him well away from Pierce, who he had become increasingly mistrustful of. Driven insane by the corruptions of hell and knowing that she had failed in her tasks, Pierce opened up a portal to and from hell on Mars, which led to a full-scale invasion of UAC's facility. Hayden, however, had just the tool he needed to counter the threat. Knowing what Pierce had done, and knowing that she needed to be stopped, he awakened the Doomslayer. But though he of course had every intention of working with the legendary soldier, the Slayer himself had a mind of his own. The first few times Hayden tried to make contact with the Slayer through communication devices, the Doomslayer rebuffed him in a very blatant manner, which led to Hayden having to take new measures to force an alliance. He did so by cutting off the Doomslayer's access to the communications array in the facility, telling the Marine explained that if he really wants the information he's looking for, he's gonna have to work with him. The Doomslayer saw no option but to agree to work with Hayden, figuring that they both have the same goal in mind. Hayden and the Doomslayer's first face-to-face meeting came not long afterward, but by the time this happened, the Slayer had destroyed the Argent Tower. That, of course, is not something that Hayden was particularly thrilled about. When the Slayer arrived at Hayden's office, the latter took the opportunity to forcefully install a tether, a device used by the UAC to teleport things to and from Hell, into the Slayer's Praetor suit, before apologizing for doing so and explaining that he deemed it a necessary installation. Hayden then explained to the Doomslayer that in order to regain control of the well, the source of the Argent that the UAC uses to process into energy, and to stop Olivia Pierce's machinations and bring a stop to the invasion of Mars by Hell's forces, the Slayer needed to locate the Crucible, an artifact from the ancient city of Argent Death, which could be used to not only control Argent energy but also to close the portals from Hell. The Doomslayer does indeed manage to get his hands on the Crucible, and in doing so he also defeated Olivia Pierce, who had been granted the form of the Spider Mastermind by the forces of Hell. After his battle with Pierce, the Doomslayer was teleported back to the UAC facility, thanks to Hayden activating the dimensional tether he'd installed on the Praetor suit, and it was here that he, in all his wisdom, decided to double-cross a man that even literal demons are afraid of. Hayden told the Slayer that he had determined in their time working together that they did not see eye to eye on their ultimate goals. While the Slayer wants to completely destroy Hell and anything to do with it, Hayden sees it as something that needs to be harnessed and controlled, because he sees the value in Argent energy and what it will do for humanity, especially in the midst of an energy crisis. He knows he cannot or should not kill the Doomslayer. What he can do is make sure that he doesn't interfere with his plans. He steals the Crucible from the Slayer and then, using the tether in his suit, teleports him to an unknown location, bringing the story of Doom 2016 to a close. It goes without saying that Hayden is going to have a major role to play in Doom Eternal, and Doom 2016 certainly raised quite a few interesting questions around him that need answering. When Hayden stole the Crucible, the device reacted to him in a curious way, turning into a red blade with runes all over it, so it's clear that there's more going on with him and his possible connection to Hell and Argent energy than meets the eye. Given that Hayden is literally immortal and has been alive for over a century, the majority of which he has spent studying, researching, and working with Argent energy, it wouldn't be a stretch to imagine that he also used some of that time to create some greater and perhaps more sinister connections to Hell. Given how complex a character he's been up until this point, we're more than curious to see what he gets up to in Doom Eternal. Thankfully, we don't have to wait too long to find out. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to switch on the notifications bell icon next to it. That way you'll never miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.